Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Broadcast Space. Today, we will look into Portland shooting. We value your opinion a lot, so please let us know in the comments. A person was shot and killed in downtown Portland Saturday night after an evening of violent clashes between Trump supporters and protesters denouncing police brutality. Police have not released details about the victim, who they said was shot in the chest around 8:46 p.m. Saturday near Southwest 3rd Avenue and Southwest Alder Street. Previously, police said the shooting was near Southeast 3rd Avenue. Authorities also have not provided any suspect information and are asking anyone who witnessed the incident or has first-hand video of the shooting to contact investigators. Justin Dunlap, who witnessed the shooting and captured some of it on his Facebook live stream, said he didn't hear much lead up to it. "I heard like 3 seconds of yelling and saw a guy spray bear mace," Dunlap told CNN. The victim sprayed mace and launched it right into the other guy. CNN has not confirmed if the victim is the person who sprayed mace. For more than 90 consecutive nights, protesters in Portland have denounced police brutality and racial injustice. The protests were spurred by the killing of George Floyd in May and gained steam after last weekend's shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin. The man who was killed in Portland on Saturday night was wearing a hat with the insignia of Patriot Prayer, a far-right group based in Portland that has clashed with protesters in the past, said New York Times reporter Mike Baker. Earlier Saturday night, police tweeted that there had been some instances of violence between demonstrators and counter-demonstrators when a political rally caravan through downtown Portland. The tweet said officers made some arrests and asked people to avoid downtown due to traffic from the political rally. The traffic coincided with a planned Trump 2020 cruise rally in Portland that was advertised on Facebook. According to the posted event, participants planned to gather at the Clackamas Town Center in Clackamas, Oregon, about 17 miles southeast of Portland. They plan to line up the cars, motorcycles and trucks for the rally and travel the Trump 2020 cruise rally route. An image posted on Facebook shows it appeared to include the downtown Portland area. On Saturday afternoon, a large group of Trump supporters and cars gathered at the Clackamas Town Center, CNN affiliate KOIN reported. Video footage from KOIN showed pickup trucks with American flags, thin blue line flags and Trump 2020 flags prominently displayed on the vehicles. Portland police tried to keep the caravan out of the downtown area, Police Chief Chuck Lovell said at press conference Sunday, but a group of the vehicles were able to come into the downtown core. People protesting police brutality spray graffiti and start fires at the Portland Police Union on Friday. Later in the evening, Baker posted footage from downtown Portland. In at least one video, protesters standing on a street corner screamed and tossed items at people in a stopped white pickup truck with an American flag and the words "All Live Matter" written on a back driver's side window. The truck appears to be part of the Trump cruise rally. One of the protesters is seen lighting a Trump flag on fire as the caravan begins to drive. A man riding in the bed of a passing black pickup truck displaying a blue Oregon for Trump flag and an American flag can be seen pointing and firing a paintball gun at the protesters standing on the corner. Riders in the black truck can be seen releasing some form of spray, and as a green pickup truck passes, someone riding in its bed can be seen spraying something toward protesters. Passengers in that green truck duck as the other protesters toss something at them. Other videos posted by the New York Times reporter showed fights breaking out between the pro-Trump supporters and the protesters. President Donald Trump tweeted "Rest in peace" about the shooting victim, later commenting on the chaos and criticizing Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler. The big backlash going on in Portland cannot be unexpected after 95 days of watching an incompetent mayor admit that he has no idea what he is doing, Trump tweeted Sunday morning. "The people of Portland won't put up with no safety any longer. The mayor is a fool. Bring in the National Guard." Wheeler criticized Trump at a press conference Sunday afternoon, saying the president has created the hate and the division. "The tragedy of last night cannot be repeated," Wheeler said. "It doesn't matter who you are or what your politics are, we have to all stop the violence." Oregon Governor Kate Brown also blasted Trump in a statement Sunday afternoon, saying he has encouraged division and stoked violence. "It happened in Kenosha. And now, unfortunately, it is happening in Portland, Oregon. But despite the president's jeers and tweets, this is a matter of life and death. Whether it's his completely incompetent response to the pandemic, where nearly 200,000 have died, or his outright encouragement of violence in our streets. It should be clear to everyone by now that no one is truly safe with Donald Trump as president," Brown said. Chief Lovell urged people to not jump to conclusions about what led up to the shooting. "It is still early in this investigation, and I ask everyone to give the detectives time to do their important work before drawing conclusions about what took place," Lovell said. "If anyone can provide information about this case, I ask them to please reach out to our detectives. This violence is completely unacceptable and we are working diligently to find and apprehend the individual or individuals responsible." The FBI and ATF are assisting Portland police in the investigation, according to a tweet from Kerry Kupek, Justice Department spokesperson. Kupek said agents are actively offering support and resources. The shooting came in the same week that a 17-year-old armed with a military-style weapon was charged with homicide in connection with shootings during a protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, that left 2 people dead and 1 injured. The pro-Trump rally in Portland drew hundreds of trucks filled with supporters and adorned with Trump flags into the city. At times, Trump supporters and counter-protesters clashed in the streets, with fistfights occurring and Trump supporters shooting paintball guns from the beds of pickup trucks as protesters threw objects at them. Mr. Trump on Sunday morning posted or reposted a barrage of tweets about the clashes in Portland, with many of them assailing the city's Democratic mayor, Ted Wheeler. The president retweeted a video showing his supporters shooting paintballs and using pepper spray on crowds in Portland before the fatal shooting. Mr. Trump wrote that the big backlash going on in Portland cannot be unexpected, a remarkable instance of a president seeming to support confrontation rather than calming a volatile situation. The president had sought to reframe the 2020 race as a law and order election. Over the weekend, officials with Joseph R. Biden Jr.'s campaign were inundated with concern and unsolicited advice from supporters and allies suggesting the need for a forceful and frontal response. Mr. Biden issued a statement on Sunday accusing Mr. Trump of recklessly encouraging violence, while condemning violence unequivocally himself. "I condemn violence of every kind by anyone, whether on the left or the right," Mr. Biden said. "And I challenge Donald Trump to do the same." Mr. Biden will follow up with a speech in Pittsburgh on Monday, and discussions are underway for a possible trip to Kenosha soon. But the Biden campaign wants to avoid being drawn into a prolonged period of focus on unrest in the streets that campaign officials see as an effort by the Trump campaign to distract from the coronavirus pandemic and the resulting economic downturn, which has forced millions into unemployment. At the same time, Chad F. Wolf, the acting Secretary of Homeland Security, on Sunday left open the potential of sending federal law enforcement to quell the unrest in Portland. During an interview on ABC's This Week, Mr. Wolf said all options continue to be on the table to deploy more federal agents to Portland despite the strong opposition of local leaders, who say such tactical teams have only heightened tensions. Mr. Wheeler, at an afternoon news conference at City Hall, said the shooting had left his heart heavy, and he denounced violence. But he pointed to Mr. Trump's combative and unyielding message as a generator of the nation's escalating polarization and violence, and he called on the president to work with him and others to help de-escalate tensions. "Do you seriously wonder, Mr. President," he said, "why this is the first time in decades that America has seen this level of violence? It's you who have created the hate and the division." He added, "We need to reset. The president needs to reset. I need to reset. This community needs to reset. And America needs to reset. And it's going to take his leadership in the White House, and it's going to take my leadership here in City Hall to get it done." Mr. Trump responded quickly to the mayor's remarks, mocking Mr. Wheeler and calling him wacky and a dummy. "He would like to blame me and the federal government for going in, but he hasn't seen anything yet," the president wrote on Twitter. Mr. Trump is planning to visit Kenosha on Tuesday, though both the governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, a Democrat, and the mayor of Kenosha, John Antaramian, also a Democrat, urge him to reconsider. "I am concerned your presence will only hinder our healing," Mr. Evers said. Judd Deere, a White House spokesman, said the White House has been humbled by the outreach of individuals from Kenosha who have welcomed the president's visit and a longing for leadership to support local law enforcement and businesses that have been vandalized. President Trump looks forward to visiting on Tuesday and helping this great city heal and rebuild. The shooting in Portland ended a week of upheaval that began when a white police officer in Kenosha repeatedly shot a black man, Jacob Blake, leaving him paralyzed below the waist, his family said. The shooting prompted a new wave of protests against racism and police brutality that included the postponement of professional sports games. During the unrest after the shooting of Mr. Blake, Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old Illinois resident, was charged in connection with the fatal shootings of 2 protesters. The escalating tensions and violence over the past week came 3 months after the killing of George Floyd in police custody in Minneapolis. Mr. Floyd's death prompted a national outcry over policing and racial injustice, spurring protests in cities across the country, some of which have been accompanied by looting and violence. Brown called on multiple law enforcement agencies, state and local, to assist the Portland Police Bureau and announced plans for a community forum to protect the right to free speech. The announced plan comes after a man fatally shot on a Portland street amid clashes between supporters of President Donald Trump and protesters was identified as a good friend of the right-wing group Patriot Prayer, founder Joey Gibson said Sunday. While Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler and other city officials expressed their condolences during a Sunday afternoon press conference, Brown blamed Patriot Prayer for instigating violence. The right-wing group Patriot Prayer and self-proclaimed militia members drove into downtown Portland last night, armed and looking for a fight, Brown said in a statement. "Every Oregonian has the right to freely express their views without fear of deadly violence. I will not allow patriot prayer and armed white supremacists to bring more bloodshed to our streets. She added, time and again, from Charlottesville to Kenosha to Portland, we have seen the tragic outcome when armed right-wing vigilantes take matters into their own hands. Gun violence is never, ever the answer. Brown's plan calls for the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office to prosecute serious criminal offenses, including arson and physical violence. Under the plan, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office will hold individuals for violent behavior. Plus, the Oregon State Police will assist PPB and wear body cams while doing so. Brown called on multiple law enforcement agencies, state and local, to assist the Portland Police Bureau and announced plans for a community forum to protect the right to free speech. The announced plan comes after a man fatally shot on a Portland street amid clashes between supporters of President Donald Trump and protesters was identified as a good friend of the right-wing group Patriot Prayer, founder Joey Gibson said Sunday. While Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler and other city officials expressed their condolences during a Sunday afternoon press conference, Brown blamed Patriot Prayer for instigating violence. Fighting corruption, big government, what is the right-wing group Patriot Prayer linked to Portland confrontations and who is Joey Gibson? I will not allow Patriot Prayer and armed white supremacists to bring more bloodshed to our streets, she added, time and again, from Charlottesville to Kenosha to Portland, we have seen the tragic outcome when armed right-wing vigilantes take matters into their own hands. Gun violence is never, ever the answer. Brown's plan calls for the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office to prosecute serious criminal offenses, including arson and physical violence. A Sunday press conference didn't provide much detail about the shooting. Portland Police Bureau Chief Chuck Lovell said he didn't know whether it was politically motivated and added the investigation is ongoing and no arrests have been made. He and other officials called for peace. The issue with firearms is very troubling to us, but people do have a constitutional right to carry firearms legally, Lovell said. So, it's hard to prevent. Some of the instances that take place, you're talking split second, a couple of seconds. A lot of times we're not right there to see things happen. I think the best we can do is message to people that we want a safe city and we ask them not to come downtown to these other places with firearms. Not engage in violent acts of crime. Wheeler also called for those seeking retribution for the shooting to stay away from the city, calling the fatal shooting a potential flashpoint. That's why I'm asking people, if you're from out of town and you're reading something on social media, please understand, if you're reading any facts on social media, they're probably wrong, because we don't have all the facts yet. He added, this is not the time to get hot-headed because you read something on Twitter that some guy made up in his mother's basement. What do you think about the whole situation? Let us know in the comments. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, hope you have a fantastic day.